not. It was just law enforcement tuning into flock surveillance cameras. Now we've learned anyone with an internet connection could be too.
That starts getting really problematic.
Colorado is pulling hundreds of truck driver licenses after the Trump administration demanded an audit. Coloradans could be voting to ban gender-affirming surgeries for minors. But LGBTQ activists worry other care could end too.
That's the red flag to me.
And volunteers with a knack for knitting are teaming up together to help kids having a hard time.
Maybe they could benefit from a nice, cozy blanket.
Get comfortable. This is Next. You have heard us talk a lot about Flock here on 9 News. They're known for their cameras used by law enforcement to track drivers and locations. But the company also makes a line of cameras for the private sector, watching places and the people inside them. This week, links to streams of those cameras were plastered on the internet for anyone to see. Our Spencer Soicher found that includes some right here in Colorado.
I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
If there was a camera pointed at your children on the playground, live streaming it on the internet with the capability to rewind and look at what it captured, would you be happy?
When I found that playground camera, it's like my stomach sank.
That playground is in California, and the video was obtained and published by YouTuber and researcher Ben Jordan. He just partnered with a reporter at 404 Media to break a story. Links to streams of 67 flock cameras nationwide, 5 labeled as in Colorado, and their last month's worth of footage posted on a website on the internet that requires no login. And these aren't just license plate reading cameras.
They're Condor cams. They're kind of the newer cameras that Flock is making. Part of their design is to track people, to zoom in on them and follow them.
One other camera on that list appears to be this one at a trailhead here in Douglas County, the Sandstone Ranch. Get that camera off of me. Here's video from this camera accessible on the internet without a login just this past week. Sandstone Ranch open space is managed by Douglas County, who has a contract with Flock.
Every city and law enforcement agency needs to independently assess the security and the efficacy versus risk of these devices.
Flock says it has since cut off the access to the stream links posted online, and in a tweet about it this morning wrote that, quote, transparency and trust matter. They then went on to say it was a limited configuration issue affecting a small number of devices and that the company told affected customers.
If you're depending on a for-profit tech startup to do that for you, they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. That's common sense. They're not going to tell you about all of the risks and problems.
So a key question here, what did Douglas County know and when? Flock says that they alerted people about this that were affected by it. I reached out, Jenny, to Douglas County earlier this afternoon, just heard back a couple of seconds ago. They confirmed, yes, we were affected by this stream being posted on this page, and they're still working to figure out when and how it was accessed.
There are cameras everywhere on all things. When I think of Flock for like license plate readers, those are very different than, say, my Ring camera on a house.
Right.
Where does this private sector part of Flock play in the middle of those two things?
So they play in a couple different fields. They've got HOAs that they work with. They've got businesses. Lowe's and Home Depot have a lot of them. And then they have obviously the law enforcement aspect of this as well, working to see a little bit more of where these exact cameras, why would a trailhead have this? You know, I think that's an interesting part to this. Why does Douglas County have a camera that's not just monitoring license plates like we all thought?
Interesting. Continued Flock coverage. Spencer Soicher, thank you. President Trump is now following through on his public pledge to retaliate against Colorado for not releasing his ally Tina Peters. She's been serving prison time for tampering with voting systems. And that's putting Colorado Republicans in a tight spot politically, with some now embracing this idea that Colorado should be punished. Trump is withholding federal disaster funding for recent wildfires and flooding. His administration is also pledging to close the NCAR lab in Boulder. Republican Congressman Jeff Hurd is breaking with his party, criticizing both decisions. But some other Republicans are choosing silence or even support for punishing Colorado for keeping Peters in prison, or a variety of other complaints lodged by the Trump administration. Former state GOP chair Christy Burton Brown, who now leads Advance Colorado, said Colorado had provoked Trump's wrath. Longtime GOP strategist Sean Page said the same thing and said Colorado Republicans are ready to call, quote, in airstrikes on their own position. Trump has spoken openly about punishing Colorado, often tied to his false claims about election rigging. Trump also said Colorado using mail-in ballots was a big factor in pulling Space Command out of the state. Colorado is now canceling more than 250 commercial driver's licenses after an audit requested by the Trump administration found those licenses were issued improperly. Earlier this week, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy threatened to withhold $24 million in federal funding from Colorado, saying the state was not purging those illegal licenses fast enough. Democratic Governor Jared Polis called the threat a, quote, case of crossed wires. He says Colorado has finished the investigation, is revoking those licenses now. The state says its audit found 262 improperly issued licenses, the majority from drivers from Mexico who were seeking asylum or refugee status when they applied. But federal partners found they did not meet all the legal requirements to get those CDLs. The state has also paused its term-limited CDL program until further notice. The Trump administration is also cracking down on fraudulent truck driving schools. They removed nearly 3,000 CDL training providers nationwide from a federal registry for failing to meet federal standards. The Trump administration has started the process to pull Medicare or Medicaid funding from any hospital that provides gender-affirming care for minors. Organizers behind a proposed ballot initiative in Colorado are now collecting signatures to ban gender-affirming surgeries for minors for all hospitals and healthcare practices. But LGBTQ advocates now fear this language goes beyond those procedures. Our Jaleesa Irizarry explains.
No hidden agenda here. It's a very short, simple initiative.
Erin Lee is no stranger to the Colorado Secretary of State website.
I'm not.
The executive director of Protect Kids Colorado has 3 ballot initiatives this year, including 110.
We just want to make sure kids are not being subjected to these irreversible procedures before they're capable of consenting.
Ballot Initiative 110 would ban all doctors from performing gender-affirming surgeries on minors.
Let me find it.
But Marty Moore with Rocky Mountain Equality and others fear
That's the red flag to me.
the language alludes to banning more than surgeries.
A healthcare professional or other person shall not knowingly perform, prescribe, administer, or provide any surgery to a minor for the purpose of altering biological sex characteristics. You don't get a prescription for a surgery, so it doesn't quite make sense. I think it's very misleading.
So in order to have this surgical procedure take place, a doctor has to evaluate, administer, prescribe, and we wanted to make sure that there was no loophole in the process. But again, we're just tackling the surgery aspect.
Lee stresses this is a single subject issue.
This is cruel.
Moore disagrees and worries about the other issues like mental health that may surface if this initiative passes.
This is ill-informed.
An initiative seen in so many ways.
There is research from the Trevor Project that kids who receive gender-affirming care do well. I don't want to talk about what happens if they don't.
And we as a society have a responsibility, the adults, to protect kids as they're developing, and this is just another step in that progression of protecting kids.
For Next, I'm Jaleesa Irizarry.
Lee says she has more than 1,000 people circulating the initiative across the state. She has until the end of February to collect roughly 125,000 signatures to get that on the ballot. Immigration rights activist Jeanette Vizgara is a free woman for now. She spoke today and celebrated after ICE released her from custody yesterday. A judge ruled she could be released from custody, in ICE custody that is, on bond while her immigration case plays out. Vizgara said today she believes the government targeted her because of her activism. She has a long history of challenging removal orders. And during President Trump's first term, she sought sanctuary in churches to avoid deportation. Vizgara says she does not plan to stop her activism.
No mucha gente tiene el valor que tengo yo. Es cierto. Y dicen, ¿qué vas a hacer diferente ahora? ¿Vas a callar? Es mi esencia no callar.
Vizgara is still fighting a removal order. She said she does not know when her court date next is, but she needs to check in with ICE next month. A Democratic vacancy committee will meet tonight to decide who will serve the rest of Faith Winter's term in the state Senate. Winter died in a car crash on I-25 south of Denver the day before Thanksgiving. An investigation found she was at fault for the crash when she rear-ended a truck. The truck did not have any visible brake lights. An autopsy also found she had alcohol in her system. Winter had publicly struggled with alcohol abuse for years. The 45-year-old Democrat spent 11 years in the state legislature representing the Broomfield area. Her term in the Senate would have been up next year. Another vacancy committee will have to fill Democratic Representative Shannon Byrd's seat. She stepped down to focus on her congressional run. So next, we'll be off the rest of the week for the holidays. We are highlighting this week's Word of Thanks early. Today, we have the opportunity to help children with visual impairments. Here's Kyle with an update on this week's Word of Thanks.
Thanks for being with Next while I'm away. Kids are understandably top of mind during this holiday season, and there's an organization in Colorado that does exceptional work to help children who are blind or have visual impairments get a start on a fulfilling, successful life. It's the Anchor Center for Blind Children, the recipient of this week's Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign. Families will come to the Anchor Center when their child is newborn up to age 5, and they're looking for guidance on how to best guide their child towards a fulfilling, exciting, joyful life despite their vision impairments. And the Anchor Center has that expertise. They are known throughout the country for their work with children with visual impairments. This is intensive work. It is expensive work. So it's heavily subsidized by generous donors like you and like me. To join me and a bunch of other Coloradans in donating, scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all of the donors to the Word of Thanks Fund. Nearly 7,000 of you have signed up to make a monthly gift, which we automatically split among all of the nonprofits that we feature. It has meant tens of thousands of dollars in donations to each week's featured nonprofit. Thank you. Have a very happy holiday and a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you soon.
Crocs is now putting its foot down. The Colorado-based company is suing the Trump administration over tens of millions of dollars spent on tariffs.
We have a huge milestone coming up, our 30th anniversary. It's amazing.
And what started as a hobby for one Coloradan has expanded to a nationwide project to bring a little warmth to kids having a hard time. The shoe company Crocs, which is based in Broomfield, is suing the Trump administration over tariffs. Crocs wants $54 million plus interest and tariff refunds if the Supreme Court should rule that the administration's tariffs weren't authorized. Back in April, President Trump implemented what he called reciprocal tariffs against dozens of countries, and Crocs has manufacturers in Vietnam, China, Indonesia, India, Mexico. Oh, those are Crocs. And a cowboy boot? Didn't even know they made those. Crocs wants its money back and protection from paying illegal tariffs in the future. In November, the company said the Trump administration's tariffs had a negative impact on their performance. They've lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Costco and Revlon have also sued the administration over those tariffs. Even as health insurance tax credits expire, the Colorado marketplace says health coverage enrollment numbers are actually about the same as last year. Connect for Health Colorado says more than 250,000 residents have enrolled to get coverage starting January 1st. Premiums are, on average, doubling for Coloradans with Affordable Care Act tax credits set to expire at the end of the year. No agreement from Congress on an extension on those. The state's insurance division has estimated that the hike in premiums would lead to about 75,000 Coloradans losing their health insurance. The state says if credits were extended, Coloradans on the individual marketplace would see average premium increases of 16% as opposed to 100%. The state marketplace estimates about 65% of customers will qualify for some kind of financial help from the state. Enrollment ends January 15th. If you're dreaming of a white Christmas, keep dreaming. Chris Bianchi has been very clear that that is not happening this year.
Our odds of having a white Christmas, zero. Zip. Zilch, nothing, Jenny. You are exactly right. It's hard to get snow, breaking news, when your high temperature is nearly 70 degrees 2 days before Christmas. Even there at 10,000 feet in Leadville, 50 degrees. That's actually the number that really stands out to me. A few spots in the Southeast Plains flirting with 80 2 days before Christmas. Tomorrow, same idea for us, 68 for us here in Denver. Might be our warmest Christmas Eve on record, current record, 70 degrees back in 1955. We're going to be right around that today. Our 13th day this month. Keep in mind, today, of course, December the 23rd, that means more than half of our days so far this December, we've had a high temperature at or above 60 degrees. That is bananas. That is bonkers. There is certainly a link to a warming climate with this. Also, for Christmas Day, our forecast high could be right around 70, which would make it our warmest Christmas on record. Warm and dry. Then after that, it's going to be dry and warm. Then after that, warm and dry. But if you're looking for some cooler weather, we'll briefly cool down for us Saturday night and Sunday with some cooler temperatures and maybe a little mountain snow for us Saturday and Sunday as well.
30 years of comfort and warmth. One group celebrates more than 10 million blankets given to kids in need of some of that comfort. December is a month for giving. A group of friends have been stitching their offerings for the past 3 decades, and now they're celebrating a milestone. Our Byron Reed has their story.
Yeah, the whole community was helping out.
Small talk around a fire can make a big impact.
Oh, I love this. It's so fun. I mean, it's like originally all of us start this to help the kids out.
For Karen Laux-Reindaler, chatting with her friends is a chance to celebrate.
We have a huge milestone coming up, our 30th anniversary. It's amazing. This is our little seal of approval, our Project Linus tag.
She's the Denver coordinator and founder of Project Linus, a volunteer-run nonprofit that provides handmade blankets to children who are seriously ill, traumatized, or in crisis.
We have been there when Columbine happened. That was our first major catastrophe in the Denver area. So like all over the country, we all help each other out. So like if there's a tornado or a school shooting or even 9/11, we all work together.
She started stitching the group together in Parker on Christmas Eve in 1995. For 3 decades, they've distributed more than 10 million blankets nationwide.
Project Linus currently has chapters in every one of the 50 states. And I believe right now there's about 300 chapters.
The blankets are distributed to groups like hospitals, social services, and military support units. Laux-Reindaler believes the blankets offer security when times are tough.
I hope the blanket will be the miracle cure that they need to get up and over whatever hump that they're experiencing.
The hope is these blankets will give compassion to others and help continue friendly conversations that have been going on for 30 years.
One of the things that I get most excited about is when I talk to a parent or a child who's received a Project Linus blanket and they are now making them for others. I love seeing that ripple effect go on.
For Next,
thank you.
I'm Byron Reed.
We'll be right back. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a sheep doing sheep stuff. Cindy sent us a picture of a bighorn sheep ram on her house. This is in Georgetown. She says the fella got spooked by a neighbor walking their dog, and the sheep got up there on the roof, did get down okay, then darted off into the tree line. Cindy says Santa does not use reindeer in Georgetown. He likes to travel by sheep. If you see something that feels like Colorado to you, please email it to us at next@9news.com, or you can text us 303-871-1491. Next will be off Wednesday through Friday this week, so our team can spend a little time with their family and friends for the holiday. Don't worry, we will not leave you hanging. On Wednesday, 9 News Investigates will show you how they've uncovered a systemic flaw in the state's ability to properly determine the risk level of parolees. On Thursday, it's your favorite 12 Jackets of Christmas special. We'll showcase the best of Next in 2025. And on Friday, we will celebrate how your generosity changed lives in Colorado this year. So join us still at 6 o'clock this week, and you can catch some of that programming. And then Kyle will be back not too long after that. Happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas. Take care.